Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Coty.
Help him.
Hey y'all, what's going on?
Blessings upon
Nothing, my
blessings.
sister.
At least that's what.
I heard that. Man, y'all, I need this today. They took me to the limit this week.
What? At the job?
Man, I'm like, ain't nothing like dealing with some postal folks.
Shabbat shalom, Koti Gabora.
Shabbat shalom, Coty.
And Shabbat shalom and welcome to everybody that's tuning in on YouTube.
Hey.
When we
Shabbat
load it up.
shalom.
I know they like, y'all, they never speak to us out here in radio land.
Well, I'm noticing that
I'm working on something for you, Reed.
Me?
Yes. What colors did you say you wanted again?
Well, my favorite color is burgundy.
Okay.
Shabbat shalom.
I don't know. I gotta work on something for little guy too. He like my hats too.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I've been noticing we're getting more and more people that's watching the replay after we upload it on YouTube and getting beautiful comments. And so I want to say Toda for tuning in. Yeah, I'll stop.
Did they ask us to shut up?
No, they asking for your hats. My daughters was like, "Can you ask her for us if she can make us a hat?" My daughters, they know that irritate their father, so they both like.
While I'm in the middle of talking, trying to.
So they want a hat too. So remind me to get with you later.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, they want a hat. Shabbat shalom.
You have not because you asked not.
Huh?
I said you have not because you asked not.
Well, I don't want to be a bother. I don't want to be a bother. I think
That just stopped me from hurting them people at the post office. That's my relaxation.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, my daughters, they want a hat too. So, hey, Coty.
I'm gonna hook slow-mo up too.
Yeah.
Toda. So yeah, I need a little something to seal up my air conditioning.
Shabbat shalom, Coty. How you feeling? How you feeling?
I feel good. Glad it's Friday.
Dang, hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
How are you guys?
Yeah, we hanging in there.
Feeling good like a Hebrew should.
Another week down, and I'm still alive. I am still alive. Hallelujah.
Actually feel pretty good. This week, I'm not as far as like the work, but as far as like me and Rib trying to tweak our health, diet habits and workout and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we kind of was fine tuning our diet,
our lifestyle
this week, and combined with trying to get back into working out after we came back from going out of town, I feel good. I still feel energetic. I don't feel tired as I usually do at this time.
That's good.
Yeah, I feel pretty good.
I'm really trying to, my ideal diet would definitely be, ideally would be like vegetarian. So I did this thing where we went almost 50 days not eating meat, didn't we? Because we did longer than the 30 days. Like we didn't eat any meat. And I felt great. I felt awesome. And the reason why I want to get away from the meat is because the things that, I know we always talk about the brews who say, you're going to hell if you eat meat. That's not my reasons for getting meat. It's all the things that they pump in this meat today. It's not good for us, and I think it's really affecting my health. It's not good. And the government did pass in Bush, when did he sign that stem cell thing into?
It was a stem cell.
Oh,
it was Bush.
Was it artificial
Yeah,
meat?
yeah, the cloning.
Well, yeah, before it was out.
Yeah, yep, I seen that.
Yeah.
He signed into law that you have a right. Come out of my room. Y'all finna take me there. Do what y'all supposed to do. And then sit down. I apologize for him. My children take advantage of us when we go live because they don't think that I'll go ignorant on camera.
And see, and what he doing is showing y'all that I don't just be picking on him. When y'all be hearing me talk, that's why you just like, he be like, no. All you gotta do is let somebody just watch him for a while. They gotta show their head. Drill sergeant coming out of him. These children, look. Yeah, I know.
Somebody got to keep order.
Yeah, I know.
If they not gonna discipline themselves, who gonna discipline them? But anyway, yeah. So he signed into law the right to patent life.
Right.
And that was during Bush Jr.'s presidency. But the way they sold that was that it was just going to be about, reproducing plants and plant reproduction, stuff like that. But you had to put a patent on it. It was, I want to say it was for Monsanto, was really the ones that was pushing it at the time, because they wanted to have a patent on the seeds that they were selling, the Monsanto seeds.
The bug resistant, bug resistant corn.
Well, it was the wasn't necessarily bug resistant. It was the
sterile.
What's the spray?
Oh, Roundup.
Roundup Ready. Roundup Ready. So in other words, it was resisting the spray, the pesticides is what it was resisting, because the pesticide would kill a natural plant too.
Yeah.
And so the Roundup Ready seeds was a Monsanto patent that they didn't want anybody to be able to sell in addition to them. And it was also, what's the word? It was aggressive to the point where if it was sprayed on my field but got on your field, it would take over your field. And so what Monsanto's was doing is, if they seed spread onto your field and took over your field, then they said, well, those are our crops.
Sure did.
So you can't harvest those crops and sell them because that's our patented seed.
Yep, because they patent, they was going into farmers' land. Like the bees pollinate, so the bees may take, some of this Monsanto strange crop and may take it over to your neighboring field. There's an area that grows soybean because soybean grow real good there. But there's an area that grows, cotton or whatever may have you. And if the bees took, or when the bugs was pollinated, they spliced your plants and Monsanto plants start growing, they could come in and take your plants because they was like, this is a Monsanto product.
And that was a big thing because the farmers, so we talking 15 years ago, 14, 15, 12 years ago, the farmers were resisting that for a long time. And what they was doing is they would go into the farmers' communities in these, towns, Iowa, Mississippi, where, these farm communities. And all they had to do was sell one farmer, right? Because the farmers was already losing crops because of what the bugs and the pests naturally did. And so they selling the Roundup, and the Roundup is killing the bugs, but it's also killing the crops. And they saying, well, we got something for that. And all they had to do was sell one or two in the area. And then once it spread to the other farmers' property, then they had them in litigation because Roundup had the big lawyers and the deep pockets.
But they didn't count on the people. A few people made a few documentaries about Monsanto, and word spread. Man, look, the people. They all afraid of people. It's just it's too many people. That's why they want to cut that number down, because the people resist.
But they had a stranglehold on the market for at least a good strong 10 years or so.
Sure did.
And it's just to bring that full circle. So she talking about the meats, and you too, Coach Keisha, talking about the meats and agreeing with that. As far as how the overly processed meat is not a natural thing for our bodies to digest. It's in addition to that, it's the stuff that they're putting into those meats.
The fillers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we were growing our own meats, and then also feeding them what they're supposed to eat, and that's not also miscegenated, and I'm using that term being funny, but it is what it is, right? You feeding them strange food also, then it would be a different situation. But by that same token, although that meat can do strange things to us, so can a whole lot of the stuff on the grocery shelves.
Sure can.
Anything that's
And that's what, when I was a nurse on the floor, that's what I used to tell the patients, because after you've been vegan for a while, your body is going to start, you're going to have to start taking supplements. And they would ask me, like, why do I need to take a supplement? You know, just being vegan, I should be getting everything. And I would have to explain to them, you know, when you're vegan, your body doesn't absorb vitamin B very well. So you have to take a vitamin B supplement. I think it's B12.
Okay.
It's one of those Bs, but your body is going to start doing that. And what happens is that's something that you would normally get for red meat. And I would try to explain to people that it's not the red meat or the beef that is the problem. It's what they feed the animals, what they're spraying on the vegetables. It's that stuff that is causing our body harm. So even when you say, I'm going vegan, or I need to eat more vegetables, if you aren't growing those vegetables yourself, you're defeating the purpose, because they still spray the plants and stuff like that to yield more crop for the season. So you're still getting that stuff. It's not so much, again, it's not so much the cows, it's what they're feeding the cows. It's not so much, you know, the different vegetables and stuff, it's what they're spraying on the plant.
And when you get colon cancer, they tell you that the one of the number one causes of colon cancer is processed meat, hot dogs, lunch meat, all those type of things. So, you know, sausage and things that are processed, and it's the nitrates and things that they use to actually to make it processed. I mean, if you think about it, you know, and I'm not saying I eat all the way healthy, but you know, a hot dog can last, like, especially if you got it in the freezer, for like forever. You know, to make you think about it.
Right.
And you don't know what they putting in hot dogs. They put like pig snouts and hair and all that in hot dogs.
That's TT. That's TT
Hey,
Ready and Uncle.
man. I'm glad you're feeling better, baby.
Look who's home.
Good to see you, man.
Hey, baby. I'm glad you're home.
Yeah, you're right. And then, you know, when you do the hot dogs, it don't even matter if it's the pork ones or not. It's turkey, beef, and all that. It's all of the scraps. And then, you know, they got this other thing called meat glue. So once they get all the scraps together, you know, they had the meat glue to bind it all together.
And that's causing folks cancer, that meat glue.
Yeah. Like
a lot of people, like there's like the last time I remember buying a roast, right? I got the roast home, and there was just this extra, like between the grissom, or the natural grissom that used to be there, the natural fat they used to be there, like holding the roast meat together. It's like it's something else now. Like you could pull it apart, and it's like plastic. It's like crazy. I said, I ain't getting no more roast. It's crazy. Like, and that was years. It's been years since I made a roast, just because that grossed me out so much. I didn't know what the heck that was.
Shabbat shalom, man. I didn't realize that.
Hey, Shabbat shalom, Ben. How you doing, baby?
Doing good. How y'all doing?
Man, we hanging in there. We hanging in there. We hanging in there. Mama, glad to see you, baby.
Koti Shanta?
Koti Shatana. I think.
Excuse me.
Hey, baby.
Thank you for your prayers when I was sick.
Oh,
yeah,
you're
man.
welcome,
Absolutely.
man. How, you know, we prayer warriors for you, baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
We happy you look like you're doing a little better, man.
Yeah, man. Oh.
He still got a little ways to go, but still going up. I know. You ready to take your medicine before mommy cries? First? Yeah. Okay. But yeah, he wanted to say thank you because I let him know that his aunties and uncle were praying for him hard.
Yes, we were, baby.
And their prayers worked because he home.
Hallelujah.
I know.
Dang.
That's your name, Mama.
I got a question for you, Daweed. Where you at? Can you hear me? I promised your sisters I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Do you have your calendar, the Hebrew calendar that we put together as we were doing that study in that video, with the dates for the upcoming feast days?
Yeah, I have my calendar. I also started to make the Google Calendar, and when we did the few things that we added a few things you guys covered last week, I added onto the calendar. It do need to be revived. It needs to be worked on. So, yeah, but I do have it.
So you have on your calendar the dates coming up for the upcoming feast dates?
Yeah.
All of them?
Yeah, the next three.
Good. Maybe you can share that with your Cotees when you get it out to them. They seem to be having trouble finding this. All right. But nobody on blast.
But that's exactly what he put them all on blast. Put all y'all on blast. Goodness gracious.
Y'all will work it out. You young adults.
Just when I was letting you go with the Keisha incident. It's okay. I got you though.
Hey, look. I got to be me. Got to be me.
Told y'all. Y'all thought everybody in me show like Shlomo so laid back.
I am.
When the children look at all the children turned around, looked at me like they do. He fooled everybody. And because I was like, "What's this bleeding sheep that I hear?"
Everybody know me now. I'm chill.
No. Yeah, that's fine.
Well, family.
There
you go again,
that
sis.
sheep.
There you
Thank
go
you.
again.
Thank you, sis.
I thought we was on good terms.
No, because she know. Coach Joy know, because she be here. And she knows every time he do that, she busts him out. I remember like when Coty first came. Oh my goodness! All them years ago, she thought Shlomo couldn't do no wrong. She was like, "Oh, he's so laid back. I just can't imagine, because he always on his best behavior when he first meet people." And she was like, "I just can't imagine him." I said, "Coty, stay a while, stay around a while." And boy, sometimes she be like, Shlomo said, "We shall not do this." I'm talking about.
I'm on my best behavior, period. Listen, y'all know that your children is the ones that know how to push your buttons, and your spouses are the ones that know how to push our buttons. That's all it be.
I be innocent.
And how many of them scriptures we done read now that say, if you, the father or the husband, hear and don't say nothing, then it's a done deal. So if I hear and I know it ain't right, somebody got to speak up. And with these in my household, especially because it's so many, if you don't speak loud and affirmatively, like it's got to be firm. If you saying no, it can't be no. I don't know about that. Can it?
I pray my father-in-law not listening to this, because what I'm gonna say next may offend him.
Can it be no? Can it be no? I don't think that's a good idea with most of the people in this household, and they take that. You know how sometimes you try to play it cool. You be like, nah, I don't think that's a good idea.
No.
And you think that they get the picture with what you're saying? No, not in this household. They be like, well, you said you wasn't sure. No, I said it wasn't a good idea.
No.
And so the evolution of that not working is what it is today.
I love my father-in-law. Y'all hear me? I love my father-in-law.
He watches these.
I know, and that's why I'm saying I love him. But Shlomo is his father's son.
That's
and
not no offense.
No. And it ain't what you do that bothers Shlomo, it's how you do it. Because if you don't do it the way that he think you should do it, it don't matter what it is. Like, it could be stuff you specialize in. I'm a writer. I have studied writing for years. I went to school for it. You understand what I'm saying? I've been studying writing, it's safe to say, about 20 years, right? Shlomo is not a writer. But Shlomo is very opinionated on what he feels like the way that I should do be like a specialist. He's a specialist on everything. Now, I told y'all, one of our very first arguments was in Walgreens because he decided, he saw a commercial about Motrin. Was it Motrin? Motrin or one of them female de-bloating, de-cramps, give you a sunny disposition, feed hungry children, one of those miracle pills, He saw a commercial and he decided that, you know what, when my wife gets her fixings again, we're gonna get her them pills.
Her fixings, though.
And I told him, I don't take those. Those give me a headache. Brother, you late. I've been getting my fixings for some 15 years, and what I don't need you to do is to come around telling me how to deal with my fixes.
It wasn't Motrin, I forget what that. Midol,
that's the one.
It said here for bloating.
This is what he doing in the store. He holding the thing up, got his glass and hold the thing, so it say
unnecessary anger.
Oh, you got all that. You got all that. This week we gonna get this box right
here.
This
ain't what you need?
I was so mad at him. I said, we're not getting that box. He's like,
I said, well, have you tried it?
And you won't even try it. We gonna get this box. Oh my goodness. And that's him. And that's him.
My opinion that day was try it. If it don't work, it don't work. Yeah, I had an opinion.
He got an opinion on everything, baby.
Everything.
It don't matter. Look, you're a heart surgeon. That's what you do. Open heart surgery, okay?
And before
that's
you perform open heart surgery on me or mine, I may ask some questions.
He gonna ask some questions. He gonna ask some suggestions. he gonna say what he would like to see, what I would like to see happen. Brother, I went to school some 45 years for open heart surgery. How you gonna tell me how to perform? People get mad at him. Specialists get mad at him. They were like, yes, he do. Yes, he do. I'm an attorney. That's what I do. I practice law. I've studied the law. What you not gonna do, sir?
I may have questions and I may have an opinion. But I ask and express those questions and opinions in a very palatable manner. Now, I'm shorter with these in my household because, again, I go back to they know how to push buttons and they know how to ignore when they want to ignore, when they know what I meant. So it's like when I say do something or when I say don't do something and you understood that I meant to do something or not to do something and you did it anyway, then I began to get a little bit shorter and more direct, and a little bit more blunt, maybe a little more brazen, but that's those who are very close to me.
Menelik, are you bearing witness to this? Do you hear this man? Do you hear your father?
I hear him in there. He trying to.
Yeah, don't he do that? He's trying to Mr. Roger this situation.
You still got to deal with me, brother.
I kindly ask.
I do.
With all due respect, everyone who's involved.
I got Timo too.
Huh?
So I got Timo on the phone.
Oh, you got Timo?
She talking about, oh my goodness.
You're right. Do you hear him in there? I know she vent in there.
You know what? Y'all finna burn some bridges with me because I help y'all anytime y'all in need.
Are you threatening our children? This is YouTube. They're witnesses.
I'm trying to tell you.
You're threatening our children.
The only time I ever. What'd you say?
Nah, Timo's still very.
The only time I ever revert back to old man is when somebody really take me there, and it take a lot. It take a lot to take me there.
Not since he became an old man. It don't.
Can we get back to Shabbat topics? You goodness.
I'm gonna be like Pam with Monroe. Slow-mo is never like that. You just treat
Yes, that's how.
him bad. Oh, slow-mo.
Coty, that's how they be. That's how they be. Not slow-mo. And until they get here with him and be like, oh. Wow, okay.
Hey, fam, don't y'all say let everything be done in decency and in order.
That's right. That's right. Slow-mo is making sure that house stay in order.
I'm gonna take that. So even though I heard a little undertone in it, I'm gonna take it and run with it. I'm gonna accept that.
I ain't gonna say nothing. This is right. We're supposed to give all the steam and honor to the Most High.
I'm doing my best. Anyway. Hard out here. Hard out here.
Slow-mo. Look, major pain, that's slow-mo.
I wish. Then it'd be in order in here.
That's the chill.
Anyway.
All right.
So, fam, y'all ready to close this out?
Yeah. Moving right
Closing
on.
our numbers. Moving into Deuteronomies. So we got 2 chapters here. And I was telling Real, I think we just make a clean break, because when I go into the editing for Deuteronomy, I'll do a new intro for the series as I'm posting them on YouTube, just to kind of keep it from being monotonous.
Interesting.
At my Isha suggestion. I don't want to make it boring. Yes, sir. We're in Numbers 35. Numbers chapter 35. We're reading 35 and 36. I think it's your time.
All righty. Y'all ready to roll? Y'all ready to do this? Okay. All right. Okay. So we're picking up in the book of Numbers, chapter 35, beginning at verse 1. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses in the desert plains of Moab by the Yarden in Jericho, saying, Command the children of Israel that they shall give the Levites cities to dwell in from the inheritance of their possession. Also give the Levites open land around the cities. And they shall have the cities to dwell in, and their open land for their cattle, and for their herds, and for all their livestock. And the open land of the cities which you give the Levites are from the wall of the city outward 1,000 cubits all around. And you shall measure outside the city on the east side 2,000 cubits, and on the south side 2,000 cubits, and on the west side 2,000 cubits, and on the north side 2,000 cubits. And the city is in the middle. This is to them the open land for the city. And the cities which you give to the Levites are the 6 cities of refuge, which you give to them, to the manslayer to flee to, and to these you add 42 cities. All the cities which you give to the Levites are 48, these with their open land. And the cities which you give are from the possessions of the children of Israel. From the larger tribe you give many, from the smaller you give few. Each one gives some of its cities to the Levites, in proportion to the inheritance that each inherited. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, When you pass over the Yarden into the land of Canaan, then you shall choose cities to be cities of refuge for you, that the manslayer who struck someone mistakenly shall flee. And flee there. And they shall be cities of refuge for you from the revenger, and the manslayer is not to die until he stands before the congregation for right ruling. Give 3 cities And the cities which you give, 6 are to be cities of refuge. Give 3 cities beyond the Jordan, and give 3 cities to the land of Canaan as cities of refuge. These 6 cities are refuge for the children of Israel, and for the sojourner, and for the settler in their midst, for anyone who mistakenly strikes someone to flee there. But if he has stricken him with an instrument of iron, so that he dies, he is a murderer. The murderer shall certainly be put to death. And if he has stricken him with a stone in his hand, by which one could die, and he does die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall certainly be put to death. Or if he has stricken him with a wooden instrument that he could kill, and he does die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall certainly be put to death. The revenger of blood himself puts the murderer to death. When he meets him, he puts him to death. And if he thrusts him through in hatred, or throws an object at him while lying in wait, so that he dies, or is his enmity, he strikes him with his hand so that he dies, the one who struck him shall certainly be put to death, for he is a murderer. The revenger of blood puts the murderer to death when he meets him. But if he pushes him suddenly without enmity, or throws an object at him without lying in wait, or uses a stone by which a man could die, throwing it at him without seeing him, so that he does die, while he was not his enemy or seeking his harm, then the congregation shall judge between him who struck someone and the revenger of blood according to these right rulings. And the congregation shall rescue the manslayer from the hand of the revenger of blood, and the congregation shall return him to the city of refuge where he had fled. And he shall remain there until the death of the high priest who was anointed with the set apart oil. But if the manslayer at any time goes outside of the limits of the city of refuge where he fled, and the revenger of blood finds him outside the limits of his city of refuge, and the revenger of blood executes the manslayer, he is not guilty of blood, because he should have remained in his city of refuge until the death of the high priest. But after the death of the high priest, the manslayer is to return to the land of his possession. And these shall be for a law of right ruling to you throughout your generations and all your dwellings. Whoever strikes a being, the murderer shall be executed by the mouth of the witnesses. But one witness does not bear witness against someone to die, and to take no ransom for the life of a murderer who is guilty of death, but he shall certainly be put to death, and to take no ransom from him who has fled to his city of refuge to return to dwell in the land before the death of the priest. And do not profane the land where you are, for blood profanes the land, and the land is not pardoned for the blood that is shed on it, except by the blood of him who shed it. And do not defile the land which you inhabited, in the midst of which I dwell. For I, Yahuwah, am dwelling in the midst of the children of Israel. Real quick.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Real quick. So what I just read in 33, and do not profane the land where you are, for blood profanes the land, and the land is not pardoned for the blood that is shed on it, except by the blood of him who shed it. So remember, we just read that scripture last Saturday, when Abiyah saying he was going to lure the people back to the Valley of Decision. He was going to lure all these nations back to the Valley of Decision. These nations that he's going to lure back to the Valley of Decisions are all nations that shed blood in that place.
Yep.
They shed blood in that place, and the only way that this land could be pardoned is by that blood, their blood being shed back in that place.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Everything according to the law. And I know this all sounds straightforward, but it's giving you an idea of a couple of things. One, as you read later on, we read about Levites among several of the different tribes. Well, this is telling you the foundation of why those Levites are living among each of those different tribes, and sometimes may have even been called by the name of the tribe that they were living in. Just like, for example, we're called Americans because we live in America, but that doesn't mean that that's our tribe or our nationality. So This is why you'll see Levites among Judah, Gad, Dan, so on and so forth. This is the law. And again, yes, when Yah says that in his bringing judgment upon the earth, everything's going to be done according to Torah still, because that's always going to be the perfect law. Here's the law that is giving you the foundation and the understanding of why those people are being brought up to that land, like Red was saying. Okay. Okoti Latasha.
No, I was going to say, it's in verse 25 when it said he should remain there until the death of the high priest who was anointed with the set apart oil. Is that like the shadow of Yahushua when he come in? Because it also says in 28 when he say, the death of the high priest, the manslayers to return to the land of his possession. So after like he shed the blood and different things of that nature, then he returned us back to the land that he has given us.
Say that one more time for me. I'm not sure if I was with you on that. So you said from 25 to 28?
Yeah, so when it was speaking about the death of the high priest, it made me think of Yahushua when it was saying that he was anointed with the set apart oil. And I was asking, is that a shadow of course it was the high priest as far as like with the Levites, Aaron's sons, but is it a shadow of what he's saying when he say, can you hear me?
No, yeah, you're right. I didn't catch that. That's an excellent point. I didn't catch that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when in 28, and then in 28, when he said the manslayer is to return to the land of his possession. So saying that he's going to return all of us to the lands that he gave to each tribe or to each nation.
Okay, yeah, I see that. But what you helped me see, I didn't see, and I think we're saying the same thing, is that the person who has, wow, sis, I didn't see that. That's a beautiful thing. So you're looking at the law of someone who intentionally sinned and someone who unintentionally sinned. The sin that we're talking about is murder. Just for this purposes of this thing. But he has he who intentionally sinned and is guilty of that intentional sin, he gets to have his life taken by the revenger immediately because it was an intentional sin. But he who unintentionally sinned gets to enter into this refuge city headed by the high priest, where he must remain with that high priest until the high priest died, as you referenced. So if that high priest is a shadow of Messiah, then what that is showing then, because it says after the high priest dies, he can go back to his land. And what that's showing is that once the high priest has died, he has been alleviated of his guilt. So with the high priest's death, his guilt is removed from him. He can now go back to his land. Even though the revenger is still out there, the revenger can no longer take his life once the high priest died. And you're right, because I'm like, wonder why once the high priest died. And you just made that make sense for me.
Are you comparing that to the marriage? So like the husband had to die in order to.
Well, yeah, the husband represents Messiah. So yes, with this high priest representing Messiah, then not that this high priest was alleviating this man of his guilt, but it being a shadow of what Messiah was going to do by dying for our sins. So the priest city he was able to take refuge in, and so the priest city would protect him until the death of the high priest, and then he was alleviated of his unintentional sin.
Right.
Yeah, like I can see that as a shadow. Absolutely.
Yeah, like I was thinking. I mean, when y'all was reading, I was just seeing it.
That's an excellent observation. Okay. And
it was just saying, like, as far as him being redeemed and being placed back.
Yeah, I see that. Torah. That I didn't see that at first. Beautiful point. Anybody else? Excellent point. Excellent. Okay. Picking up 36. And the hands of the fathers of the clans of the children of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, of the clans of the son of Joseph came near and spoke before Moses and before the leaders, the heads of the fathers of the children of Israel, and said, Yahuwah commanded my master to give us the land as an inheritance by lot to the children of Israel. And my master was commanded by Yahuwah to give the inheritance of our brother Zelophehad to his daughters. Right. Now, if they are married to any of the sons of the tribes of the children of Israel, then their inheritance shall be taken from the inheritance of our fathers and shall be added to the inheritance of the tribe into which they marry, and taken from the lot of our inheritance. And if the Yobel,
Is that the horn?
the Yobel is the horn, cane, like the shofar, of the children of Israel, or the Jubilee, takes place, then their inheritance shall be added to the inheritance of the tribe into which they marry, and their inheritance taken away from the inheritance of the tribe of our fathers. And Moshe commanded the children of Israel according to the word of Yahuwah, saying, what the tribe of the sons of Joseph speaks is right. This is the word which Yahuwah has commanded for the daughters of Zelophehad, saying, let them marry who is good in their eyes, but let them marry only within the clan of their father's tribe. And the inheritance of the children of Israel is not to change hands from tribe to tribe, for every one of the children of Israel is to cling to the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers. And every daughter possessing an inheritance in any tribe of the children of Israel is to be the wife of one of the clan of her father's tribe. How perfect would that be? So that the children of Israel possess each the inheritance of his fathers. Thus, the inheritance is not to change hands from one tribe to another, second time saying it, but every tribe of the children of Israel is to cling to its own inheritance. And Yahuwah commanded Moshe, so did, as Yahuwah commanded Moshe, so did the daughters of Zelophehad for Mahala, Tirsha, Hoglah, and Milcah, and Noah, the daughters of Zelophehad, were married to the sons of their fathers' brothers. And they were married into the clans of the children of Manasseh, the sons of Joseph, and their inheritance remained in the tribe of their father's clan. These are the commands and the right rulings which Yahuwah commanded the children of Israel by the hand of Moshe in the desert plains of Moab, by the Yarden, or the garden of Jericho. Beautiful. That's interesting too, because like as I'm reading that, I'm thinking about this idea, like what the world that we live in has imparted upon us is that a lot of times when we have a family thing that's been passed down from generation to generation, we see now children trying to get away from that, like to do their own thing. And although that's not directly related as far as the inheritance that was being spoken of here, it is just that idea, the spirit of, I don't want to do, my father was a plumber, or my father was a janitor. I don't want to be no janitor. My father was a plumber. I don't want to be no plumber. Whereas that's directly contradictory to what we're reading here as a law, which is whatever you inherited. And what we're talking about in this inheritance, it's talking about land, but it's also talking about trade. It's also talking about what you agriculturally did in your tribe. That was something that was passed down. And so you wound up with masters of specific crafts so we can look at a plumber and look down our nose and be like, I don't want to be a plumber. But I was listening to Jay-Z was talking about the champagne company that he bought 50% of, right? And he was like, the way that he got into that space was because there was a family who does that in the place, and there was a way for him to buy into that. But he was buying into it because it was a family trade. It was like what he made a point of saying is like, there's nobody on earth starting a new champagne company.
Right.
Because everybody who is in the champagne business is from the place in France called Champagne, and they've been doing it for generations. You're not breaking into the champagne business new. Either you joining somebody who's already in it, or you are already in it. And so what I'm saying is they're proud of that, right? That is something they passed down through generations, and what we would have wound up having at this point is legacies. We would have been masters of each of these different crafts or agricultural specificities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we would have had legacies. And that's something that was really part of the curses for our people. It's not that, you know, somebody said, well, you know, it's just a different generation, but that's not true. Here in the South, you see it all the time. You see where other nationalities of people, Gentiles, whatever, you know, the father may have a piece of land with, you know, so many herd of cattle and, you know, and he raising his sons to do the same thing, because what they doing is they building wealth on top of wealth. So you have is a thing in which you have a head start. And so now you take the company and you grow the company even bigger. And you know, and then your son come along, or your daughter, whoever gonna take it over, and they take it, and then they grow it even bigger. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But Hebrews, we don't have that mentality, because first of all, it was beat out of us.
Yeah.
And second of all, through the necessity of needing income, everybody had to work. You know what I'm saying? My uncle went and got a job at 12, just because the family needed the income.
And it's, you know, it's crazy because especially coming into the truth new, when you hear people talking about building generational wealth, a lot of times, because we've been burned by prosperity preaching, we immediately tune out and we start thinking, well, no, because I'm coming into the truth, I'm all about my scriptures, and that's worldly, right? When the principles that they are using came from here.
Sure is.
I mean, like, that's what you're reading about here is generational wealth building, because he said, I want to make you the head and not the tail. That's literally what he said. And so when he said, I'm gonna put you above and I'll make you the head, not the tail, it was talking about being a kingdom of priests, but it was talking about being a kingdom, right? Sovereigns, which means there has to be an economic aspect to that, right? And if we're talking about his kingdom being a kingdom that rules forever and ever, so then we can make the transition and deal with the nuance of the discussion as far as what's worldly in dealing with worldly possession, and what is kingdom related in dealing with what we want to inherit in the kingdom, because what we inherit in the kingdom is perpetual. It's going to be forever. Whereas what we see them using these principles and bastardizing these principles for in this world is not going to last. So, I mean, there is a conversation to be had there.
You know, we had a perpetual kingdom in the beginning. Eden was perpetual, but we sinned. And so Abiyase, now you got to work. So everything, you know, you work for your food now, you got to work for it. And that's all a part of it. You know, living paycheck to paycheck is something we didn't have to do when we had land and we had, you know, we was building on top of it. You know, I tell my children all the time, look at Jacob's 12 sons. You know what I'm saying? His 12 sons stayed right there. Well, except for Joseph, but you know what happened to him. But his other boys stayed right there. And because they like, you know, this is our wealth. You know, we a wealthy family. They were a wealthy family.
Right.
They was known around the land. And once Jacob passed, they prepared to pick up and keep growing it. You know what I'm saying? So that it's when you got to start from the beginning every time. Every generation got to start from the beginning. You got to start from scratch. You got people that don't have to start from the beginning. As light years ahead of you because
Yeah.
they started from up here and you starting down here.
Think about the psychology of this, and y'all feel free to chime in and comment on this.
Coty, Internet got her hand up.
Okay. And I definitely want you to chime in on this too. The psychology of the cotton picking and the sharecropping, and how by them using us as chattel slaves to do that. And it wasn't always just cotton. Sometimes it was other forms of agriculture as well. It was fruit, sugar cane, growing fruit, all of that. But it was working the land for the fruits of the land, and that is the foundation of building anything, no matter where you are on the earth, to build from the land, right? But by them using us as chattel slavery and then beating us to death to do that for free, most of the people who left that, once they went north especially, was looking for the industrial jobs. Why? Because they wanted to get as far away from working in land as possible. But that eventually turned into you living in the ghettos, in the subdivided apartment complexes, where, you know, an apartment that was a 1-bedroom was turned into a 4-bedroom.
Sure
An
was.
apartment that was for one family was turned into for 4 families, slumlords and all of that. And now your 12-year-old got to go out and work because, you know, the rent is high, but you don't have land. You don't have that foundation to build off of, because every time you see or think of land, you think country, southern. I don't want nothing to do with that.
Yeah,
I'm trying to move up here and get into the music industry, or you know,
I want to play ball.
I want to play ball or whatever. I'm talking about even back then, though, in like the 1800s or the early 1900s. You know, I want to be a blues player. I want to be a jazz musician. I want to run.
I'm going
I
up
want
here
to
to
run
sing.
numbers. I want to bootleg liquor. You know what I mean?
To sing.
Yeah. Anything but that.
Okay.
Like, I don't want to touch the land at all. And it take a lot to go back to.
And then the land died, and then it died. So just think about that. You know what I'm saying? So think about your grandfather have started a business or started a hustle, you know, and your father picked it up and he grew it even more. But because you want to go up north because you fancy to sing, now it died with your parents.
And the oil company swoop in.
Every time. Coty, Internet?
Gang. Standard oil.
No, I was going to say another one of those, the lessons in that is that it also teaches a skill, whereas now we have a lot of unskilled young people who don't have a way to actually feed themselves. So like the best loomers, you know, they knew how to shear the sheep and make the yarn and do that. Or you had men who knew how to fix, you know, the even like you said back in the day, the blacksmith, or, you know, all of those skills. We were jewelry makers. We were bakers. We were, you know, we used the loom. We made the finest fabrics around. We knew how to create, you know, carpentry. We knew how to build it and create things. I mean, even if you look back at some of the things that you see, even in the Bible, when we got ready to make that, he got the best people to create the fabric for the veil. We had the people, you know, you had the new crafts, because they actually had the bells were shaped like pomegranates and things, you know, when they describe it, right? And so you had to think these people were extremely skilled as far as with jewelry making, with fabric making, and all of the things. And even to slavery, we still brought those skills over with us because we cooked. They didn't know how to make no biscuits and no greens and no sweet potatoes. We were the cooks for them. They even had this documentary about this woman, an African-American woman, and she actually sewed most of Jackie Onassis's gowns. And I think about my my grandmother and my auntie. My auntie even, she knew how to, like, she would sew her shoes. When she made an outfit, She made an outfit. She had the
Head to
shoes,
toe.
the hat,
Yeah.
the glove, the
Yeah.
purse.
Yeah.
She would hook it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we got away from those skills because we felt like, I'm not going to work for the white man, and I'm not going to do that, and this, and that. My dad would always tell me, he said, I never talk about the people that work in maintenance. He said, because you go by their house, he said, they got the cleanest houses around. It's a skill to know how to clean. Everybody doesn't know how to clean or organize, so those are skills that we lost, like you said, because we've been brainwashed to think that those skills are, domestic, and those are lower class, without realizing that those are actually, generational wealth type of skills. If you think about, maybe if you'd opened up a bakery and now you the 5th generation, and people, or even a nursery, everybody comes to Mrs. Fort's nursery. She got the best plants.
Okay.
And speaking of plants,
and so now you teach your daughter or your sons how to do that. And everybody comes from all around the county to get plants from you.
Speaking of plants, what's really scary is how many people don't know how to grow their own food. When we moved from the city, I thought that because I've always had plants and I've always taken care of plants, and so I just assumed that I was gonna move to the country and be the best gardener that the country has ever seen. I thought I was gonna move to the country and break the country, honey, because I had tomatoes and had never did any gardening, but I just thought, how hard can it be? And baby, hey, when I tell you the first 2 or 3 years, everything I grew died. What? Like it's not as simple as, you talking about a skill, it's not as simple as just throwing some seeds in the dirt and saying, now grow, you know what I'm saying? It's so much to growing your own food that we've lost. We used to be good at it.
Knew that already.
Country folks, let me tell you how they laughed at me, baby. I came down here and we had a neighbor who was my one of our friends' family members, and his wife, she said, "Oh, well, what you growing?" And I went down this long list of things I'm growing this. And I said, "Well, what you growing?" She said, "Peas." And I said, "You growing peas? Ha!
Purple whole peas.
Purple whole peas."
Everybody's the same man. Purple whole peas.
Purple whole peas. And I thought to myself, you inferior beings. I'm finna have all kind of stuff coming out. Did I not know? Did not learn. My husband, I waste so much of his money those years because I was buying all this stuff not knowing that, first of all, this ain't the season to grow it. It's too cold, it's too hot, it's too wet, it's too dry.
This ain't the soil to grow it.
The moon ain't in the right place. You know what I'm saying? And so she looked at me, and every time she see me, she be sipping on her, have a little coffee. So she said, "Well, what you say you was growing? What she say? How the mangoes go?" And I'm like, my tree died. Stop playing. It was there when I was growing. You could save me a bunch of money.
But she kept studying that stuff until now. They looking at the stuff she growing and like, I didn't know you could grow that here. I didn't know you could grow that. Oh, I didn't know you could grow that. I didn't know you could grow that here. And it's studying what you got. It took me. Where you at? What you need?
It took me 8 years to get here. It took me 8 years studying the soil and how to put life back in the soil. Like, who knew you can't just say you plant some tomatoes in this little plot of land, right? And you harvest your tomatoes. You can't just come back the next year and plant some there and think it's gonna grow, because the tomatoes took all the nutrients from the soil. So you got to do something to the soil to add the nutrients back to the soil, so that when you come next season, I didn't know none of that coming down here. You got to study all that stuff. And as a people, we knew this. We were an agricultural people. We knew how to grow food. And now,
and how to build houses, how to build your shelter. So you got to know how how to grow food, how to build your shelter, and how to keep warm during the winter seasons. Food, clothes, and shelter.
Yeah.
And we could talk about all the wealth building and financial and generational, all that we want to, but if you ain't got food, clothes, and shelter down pat,
somebody
you can't eat paper dollars and you
Sure
can't eat
can't.
gold coins.
A wise person told me this, and then I'm gonna let you come up to the mic, Kimmy. A wise person told me this. She say, let me tell you something. If you depend solely on the grocery store to feed your family, you in trouble. You in trouble because you got too much trust in a very unstable system.
And overly processed. Coach T. Kim.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment about because y'all remember how when we were in grade school, they used to teach us trades. Like
Yep.
we had like auto mechanic shop
Yep.
and we had home ec and they
Yep.
taught us how to sew.
Yep. Yeah.
And we were making pajama pants and candles and stuff. They don't do half of that stuff anymore. Like people were coming out of high school and going straight into owning their own businesses because they learned a trade. Now, it's go to college just to get out and can't even find a decent job.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with that.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Somebody else was making a point of that. It wasn't Tariq Nasheed, it was Dr. Umar Johnson was making a point about how strategic that was, because up until the 70s, I think they finally finished phasing them out around mid 80s. You had vocational courses in high school. Now you got vocational courses in college if you go to a vocational college. But up until then, vocation was a part of one of the things you could choose in high school. So if you didn't feel like you were going to go to college, like you said, you could take plumbing. You could take courses to be a journeyman, electrical work, drafting classes. I remember my brother wanted to be an architect, carpentry, auto mechanic, wood shop. All those things were available, and so-called Black families, Hebrew families, anybody who chose to take part in that could get educated in a vocation in high school. So that once high school was over with, you were equipped to go out and jump straight into a profession in which you could secure and take care of a family if that's what you chose to do. And if you chose to go to college, that was fine. And they systematically phased the vocational courses out of high school, and that left a gap. So whereas if you didn't already have that vocational knowledge in your family, or if you didn't have access by knowing someone, you was either thinking about trying to go to college and trying to make that fit, and colleges don't fit for everybody. Or you was thinking about playing some kind of ball or something like that, or getting it from the streets. However you had to get it. But those vocations, to take that out, I believe that was definitely one of those silent weapons that they used to create that gap, so that especially the head of household, you weren't able to provide the way you were supposed to, and that left the women again either fending for themselves or depending on the government.
They faded those out and faded all this computer and technology stuff in. Let me tell you something. For a lot of us, we can't see because we old. We can't see what the future looks like, and we can't see a future in which the computer run everything. You know what I'm saying?
Just made a speech about it, telling you I need to train y'all how to, instead of make a screw for that combustible engine, you need to learn how to make a screw for the AI, because we phasing it. Everything is going to be AI.
Straight up,
that's what if you leave it up to them.
It's phasing out it's phasing out. But see, the thing is, Scripture say, and when Daniel saw when Daniel saw the image of that man or that entity or whatever that was, he saw the giant. He saw that it gets to a point on a giant where they tried to mix the flesh, the clay with the metal. Remember, it was the ankles. And he said, when it, all these was great kingdoms. So you had the head of gold, the shoulders of silver. You know, these was all great kingdoms, all the way until they got to that kingdom that attempted to mix the clay, which clay always represents like flesh, you know, with the metal. So think about what they're trying to do. Not only are they bringing in, you know, these computers or whatever may have you, they trying to, we watched a documentary where this man said, over this tech company said, he trying to combine himself with the computer to the robot to make himself the best he can be. And he said he gonna become a god. And he said, if anybody try to stand in his way of becoming a god, you're gonna feel that thunder. You know what I'm saying? And they really feel like combining this flesh with this metal, but according to Daniel's prophecy, that was the weakness. That was the weakness. And that's when the rock that was the rock that represents Mashiach came and struck. When they got to that point where they decided to combine the flesh or the clay with the metal, the rock struck at that point and destroyed this kingdom. Destroyed them. Koti Latasha.
I was going to say about the vocational schools. We still, well, here in Philadelphia, we still have like maybe, when I was in high school, it probably was about 10 of them. Now, like you said, they are closing them. So it's only like, I believe like 5. And, and they still do like, as far as like the carpentry, they still do like, as far as if you want to become a beautician or a barber, they still do all those things. Like Zion, he's in one of their programs where he graduated, he'll have an associate's in sports management.
Oh,
so you could pick like, so you could pick certain things in the high school. This is first year, but they still have them, but they are closing them and they're trying to like reopen other things. They're changing everything to the charter schools now.
Right.
Yeah, they faced like my freshman year was the last last year they was doing economics in my high school. They said that they're not doing it next year. This the last time, so we got in there and we called class economics class.
I remember they were switching the emphasis from vocation to math and science and then to arts. And you know, us not knowing no better, we like, arts, do the arts.
Because the feminist movement, so like, you know, there was girls in the school getting offended that, you know, they had wood shop and like mechanic school, the mechanic classes for boys. And then they put the girls in the economics class where they was teaching us how to home ec. Right.
There's a difference.
Right. I took both. I took home ec and economics. But they was teaching the girls how to, you know, keep house and, you know, cook and all that.
And that was an offense.
And it did, like, there were like mothers protesting this, like, you know,
why you in this day and age and got people don't know how to keep house.
Hey, look, let me tell you something.
Cook or clean, cook, like
you know what
was just saying.
We're completely dependent. We have become a completely useless generation. Like, we're completely dependent on technology already. You know, what are they saying on the tube? What is that black box telling me to do? What's trending? You know, I got to go to the black box for all my information. The black box tell me how to dress.
I make
tell
this
me what to like.
Yeah, I make this parallel kind of often, but it's like if you go back to the dark ages, people died of consumption, and it meant something different then because it was something consuming them. But America is the highest consumer in the world. We consume the most and produce the most garbage and produce the least as far as something that is tangible or worthwhile of any other nation. And we are literally now, via the food we eating, via the programs we take in, all of the programming, the radio programming, the television programming, the Netflix, Hulu, Vudu, all that, all the programming. We are consuming ourselves to death. We are dying of consumption and don't even know it.
We learned everything from the back box. And I remember with the Hulu commercials, y'all remember when Hulu first came out, they had the commercial, the girl walking through the studio and she stuck her lizard tongue in the man's brain. And she said, "We want to eat your brains" or something. And I'm like, wow, this is
Stephen Baldwin too. No, Alec Baldwin too.
Yeah, it had the lizard eyes, and I'm like, oh wow, they just say it.
They said we're gonna suck your brain.
So everything the tube tell us to do, or everything the black box tell us to do, is what we do. And so now what's trending? Fake body parts, and adding this and adding that, and tucking down this and filling that, and basketball wives, and crazy desperate cheating hooker wives, and just this is what we learning.
Yep. Latasha, you had something else?
Oh no. And because like you said with the home ec, when I was in school, we had to take home ec. It wasn't a choice. Like you had to take it in order to graduate. It was.
I can't remember if we had to take it or not. I remember I wanted to take it.
And that was the. And I used to get frustrated. Like I cook enough at home. I don't want to come here and cook too.
Wow.
Because I was. Listen, when you the oldest, then you the daughter of 8 children. You don't want to go to school and cook, and you have to cook at home too.
They already got home ec down.
Amen.
I didn't want to.
Amen to that, honey.
Y'all already. I done told y'all about. I used to get frustrated with my mom. Like, if don't have no more kids.
You sound like Tima.
You sound like Tima. That's Tima. Like, you be like, oh, the children gonna be so excited.
Oh, right.
He would be like,
no.
Yeah, put him back in.
Put him back. Yep.
That's hilarious.
When we had mental leak, she wasn't feeling it.
So I was trying to find this article for y'all real quick. I'm gonna share a link with you real quick for y'all to check out if you want. So this is a study we did on the ketubah. Y'all familiar with that? It's the Hebrew marriage contract.
Oh yeah, I think we was talking about that. Wasn't we talking about that before? I think that was a while ago though.
Very
we were still like.
Dang, very possible. So the reason I'm bringing that up is because, like I said, as we're entering into Deuteronomy, if you would like to check that article out, it goes into how the Torah actually operates like a ketubah as well. So the marriage covenant among the Hebrews had several parts to it. It had the story of the bride, the story of the groom, the story of how they came together, and then the contract, the actual contract, what they're agreeing to do for each other and provide for each other. And Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy actually operates and looks like a ketubah if you look at it in that context. So as we get ready to go into that next Friday, a review on that article, that study we did, might shed some more insight on that for y'all if we reference it. Okay. I think that goes into several of the covenants too, as well. Y'all got anything else y'all want to add? I know it's a little short this week, but we'll be right back into the 3-chapter reads next week. Rib, you got anything else?
No.
I think Koti Kapora had her hand up.
Okay, Coty Gabor, where you at? And we'll be doing the last part of the season of the fall harvest tomorrow too. We will be doing that. I think we got y'all notice we had a solid connection tonight?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Coty, pronounce her name for me.
Okay.
Rev say I was butchering your name. I apologize.
Yes, I did too at first. Because I keep wanting to say Coty Shantana. She not even on here.
Okay, well she did. I'm gonna still give her flowers. She sent us something that I think might have helped us out. So far so good.
So far so good.
Told out for that.
Yes. So if you do end up rewatching this, you got a steady connection tonight because of you.
Okay.
So thank you, Coty.
All right, fam. I'm gonna have me a second helping of these cabbages over here, Red made. If y'all don't have nothing else, come to the mic, and then I'm a
man. I'm telling you, man.
Wow.
Man,
what you got, sis? You say nothing?
Nothing.
All right, fam.
Oh, this is
love y'all, family.
Beautiful. All right, 10 o'clock.
We will see y'all tomorrow, 2 p.m. Central, for part 3 of Season of the Fall Harvest.
Bye, baby. This is the only time I get to see my baby. Mommy miss you.
Aww.
Mommy miss you.
Shalom,
y'all.
Lollipop.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Have a good one. See you tomorrow.
Shabbat shalom.
Y'all will, we see you tomorrow.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, y'all.
Who's that your question, sis? All right. Love y'all. What's up, y'all?
I say yes. I'm too blessed to be stressed. Nevertheless, I must confess. Yes, this is Project Wake Up Jacob. On the Sabbath we rest and reflect upon his goodness. Because we are guided by the Ruach Kodesh. Yes, whenever I get dressed, yes, I'm dripping Kodesh fresh. Yes, this style fit me down to a T. Because I'm a ruffian, discussing precepts from the holy manual of his constructions. And TZs cover 4 corners of my garment. Greet me with shalom before you step into my carpet. Yah is not the author of confusion. I beg your pardon, but Yahuwah Zabaoth can stop it before it's even thought about. Think of me stressed because I've been blessed by the best. I'm Kodesh fresh. I'm Kodesh fresh.